In November 2002, a post appeared on an obscure online forum dedicated to unexplained encounters in rural America. The post remained active for less than 6 hours before both the post and the account that created it were deleted. The post contained a detailed account of events that allegedly occurred in northern Michigan between October and November of 1998. The story has since been shared across multiple platforms. This is the story. I'm writing this down because I need someone to know what happened. It's been 4 years, and I still can't look at security cameras without feeling sick. I've moved 11 times since then, always to bigger cities, always to apartment buildings with lots of people around. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear Duke barking in my dreams. And when I wake up, I wonder if it's really him. It started in October 1998. I'd bought the cabin in northern Michigan 3 years earlier, right after my divorce. 40 acres of woods, a small 2-bedroom house built in the 70s, and a dirt road that took 15 minutes to reach the nearest paved street. It was perfect. Just me and Duke, my German Shepherd mix, living the kind of quiet life I'd always wanted. I worked as a freelance technical writer, driving to town once a week to fax my work from the library and pick up new assignments from clients. Duke was the perfect companion for that life. He was alert but not aggressive, protective but friendly when people did come by. He had this way of tilting his head when he was really listening to something. One ear up, one ear slightly down. I must have taken 1,000 photos of him doing that, all sitting in photo albums now. The problems started small. In early October, Duke began acting strange at night. He'd growl at the windows after dark, low and continuous, the fur on his back standing up. At first, I assumed it was deer or maybe a black bear. We'd had them in the area before. But Duke knew those sounds. This was different. He'd position himself between me and whatever he was sensing out there, and he wouldn't relax until dawn. Then I started finding things. My garbage cans, which I kept secured with bungee cords because of the raccoons, were opened and emptied across the yard. But nothing was eaten, just scattered, like something was searching through it. My shed, which I used for tools and storing firewood, showed signs of entry. Nothing stolen, but things were moved. My hammer on a different hook. My coil of rope moved from the shelf to the workbench. Small things that made me question my own memory. Halloween night was when Duke completely lost it. He barked for 3 hours straight, running from window to window, scratching at the doors to get out, then immediately scratching to get back in when I opened them. I'd never seen him so agitated. Around midnight, I heard something that made my skin crawl. A sound like someone clearing their throat, but wrong, somehow. Too deep, too wet. It came from the tree line, maybe 30 feet from the house. I grabbed my flashlight and my rifle, opened the back door. Duke shot out past me, barking furiously, but stopped dead about 10 feet into the yard. Just stopped, like he'd hit an invisible wall. Then he slowly backed up, never taking his eyes off something in the darkness until he was pressed against my legs, whimpering. I swept the flashlight beam across the trees but saw nothing. No eye shine, no movement. But the smell hit me, like copper pennies and wet dog and something else, something organic and wrong. Duke and I went back inside, and I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove the 40 minutes to Gander Mountain and bought one of those new trail cameras, a StealthCam MC2 GV. Cost me almost $400. The guy at the counter, Ron, showed me how to set it up, how to position it for maximum coverage. "Getting some good deer footage?" he asked. I just nodded, not wanting to explain that I was trying to catch something that made my 90-pound dog cower. I mounted the camera on a tree facing the backyard, about 6 feet up, angled to catch anything approaching the house. The infrared sensor would trigger it when something warm moved in front of it. Then I had to wait. Wait for something to happen. Wait to use up the roll. Wait to get it developed. The first roll took 3 nights to fill. I drove to the Walmart in town, dropped it off at the 1-hour photo counter. While I waited, I sat in my truck in the parking lot, drinking gas station coffee and trying not to think about what might be on those pictures. When I picked them up, the teenage girl at the counter gave me a strange look. "These from a trail camera?" she asked. I nodded. The night ones came out. "Weird," she said, then wouldn't elaborate. The first 15 photos were normal. Deer, raccoons, a possum, all daytime or early evening shots, but photo 16 made my hands shake. 2:14 a.m., November 4th. Something pale and bipedal at the edge of the frame, just barely visible in the infrared flash. It was crawling on all fours, but not like a person would crawl. More like it was pretending to be an animal, but didn't quite understand how 4 legs were supposed to work. The next photo, 2:15 a.m., showed it closer, still crawling. Then nothing until photo 24. This one was taken at 11:47 p.m., November 5th. The thing was standing upright now, directly in front of the camera, maybe 6 feet away. The flash lit it up clearly, naked, pale, humanoid, standing perfectly still. Photos 25 through 36 were all the same. The thing in the exact same position, taken every few minutes as something kept triggering the motion sensor despite the fact it wasn't moving. The last photo was time-stamped 3:47 a.m. 4 hours. It had stood there for exactly 4 hours. But here's what made me have to sit down right there in the parking lot. It was me. The face staring into the camera was my own face. Not similar. Identical. The same scar above my left eyebrow from a childhood bike accident. The same slightly crooked nose from when I broke it in college. The same pattern of stubble I'd have if I skipped shaving for a few days. But the eyes were wrong. They reflected the camera flash like an animal's eyes, glowing white in the photos, and the expression was empty, like someone had never learned what human expressions meant. I bought 3 more rolls of film and drove home. Duke wouldn't go outside anymore, not even during the day. I had to carry him out for bathroom breaks. I reloaded the camera and waited. 2 days later, I developed the second roll. The thing had been there both nights, always arriving at 11:47, always standing in the exact same spot for exactly 4 hours, always leaving at 3:47, always staring directly at the camera. On the third roll, I noticed something new. Its lips were moving slightly in each photo, like it was talking. I spread all the photos out on my kitchen table, comparing them. The mouth positions repeated in a pattern. I spent hours trying to figure out what it might be saying. Then it hit me. It was reciting my daily routine. Wake up at 7, coffee with 2 sugars, check answering machine. Duke gets fed at 7:30, shower at 8. Details no one could know. Details I'd never told anyone because who talks about such mundane things? I called the local police from my landline, told them someone was on my property at night. The deputy who answered sounded bored. Probably teenagers or someone growing pot in the woods. We'll send someone out when we can. But I knew they wouldn't. The nearest sheriff's patrol was 30 miles away. By November 8th, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to see it with my own eyes. I sat by the window with Duke, lights off, rifle loaded, waiting for 11:47 p.m. It came right on schedule, crawling out of the woods on all fours. I watched it stand up in a series of movements that looked like someone had filmed a person lying down and standing up, then reversed the footage. Unnatural. Wrong. It walked to his usual spot and turned to face the camera. Then it just stood there. No swaying, no shifting weight, no visible breathing, like someone had paused a VHS tape. Duke pressed against me, shaking but silent. He'd stopped barking at it days ago. At around 1 a.m., unable to stand it anymore, I did something stupid. I opened the window, just a crack, and called out, "What do you want?" It didn't react, didn't turn, but Duke whimpered and ran upstairs, the first time he'd ever abandoned me when I might be in danger. I stayed at the window until 3:47 a.m., watching it walk backwards into the woods, never turning around, like it was rewinding itself into the darkness. The next morning, I saw the footprints in the frost-covered grass. They led to where it stood, but there were more tracks, circling the house, going up to windows, fresh ones on the porch, even though I'd been watching it the whole time. It hadn't just been standing there. Somehow, it had been in multiple places while also standing still for the camera. November 9th was the last night I spent in that house. I was exhausted, running on maybe 4 hours of sleep in 3 days. Duke wouldn't leave my bedroom, wouldn't eat. At 11 p.m., I checked through the window. The thing wasn't there yet, still had 47 minutes. But then I heard footsteps upstairs, slow, deliberate. Duke was next to me. Then Duke's bark from upstairs. Perfect. Exactly his territorial bark, the one he made when delivery drivers came. But Duke was pressed against my leg, silent, trembling. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it at the ceiling, following the footsteps. They stopped directly above me. Then in my own voice from upstairs, "Come up here. I want to show you something." My exact voice, not an imitation, like a recording of me, but saying words I'd never said. "Duke's up here with me," my voice continued. "He wants you to come up." Duke, my Duke, the real Duke beside me, bolted. Not upstairs, but to the back door, scratching frantically to get out. I'd never seen him so desperate. I opened the door and he shot into the darkness. "Duke," I called, but he was gone. From upstairs, my voice laughed, my exact laugh. "He knows better. Smart dog, you should follow him." The footsteps started down the stairs. I ran, grabbed my keys, my wallet, the envelope of developed photos, and ran to my truck. As I started it, I looked back at the house. 2 figures stood in my yard, both naked in the November cold, both watching my truck. I drove through the night, stopped at a motel outside Indianapolis, called the police from a payphone the next morning, asked them to check my property. They found the house untouched, but Duke was missing. The camera was gone, not broken, just gone. But I still had the photos. They found something else. My shed had been lived in. A nest made of my own clothes, pulled from my hamper, arranged like a bed. Strands of Duke's fur woven into it. Duke was never found. I've never been back. Sold the property through a lawyer to some couple from Chicago. They lasted 6 months before selling it. The next owners made it 2 years. I still have the photos in a safe deposit box. Sometimes I look at them, trying to understand. The 4-hour stare still makes me sick. Even in a still photo, it feels like it's looking through the camera at me, knowing exactly where I am now. I live in the city now. Boston, for the moment. Always apartment buildings, always upper floors. Never alone. I need the sounds of neighbors, of traffic, of human life around me constantly. But twice now, in different cities, I've caught glimpses in store security monitors. Someone who looks like me, walking too far behind to be a reflection. Walking on all fours until they notice the camera. Then standing up, then staring, for exactly 4 hours. I don't sleep much anymore. When I do, I dream about Duke. In the dreams, he's trying to warn me about something, barking and barking, but when he opens his mouth wider, I can see human teeth. I'm writing this down because I need someone to know. If something happens to me, when something happens to me, check the timestamps, count backwards 4 hours from when I disappear. That's when it started watching again. I know it's still out there, wearing my face better than I ever did. Waiting. It learned something that night it took Duke. It learned that it doesn't need to replace me if it can just make me run. Make me disappear myself. Sometimes I wonder if that was always the plan.